They came for you in the dead of night. No warning, just rough hands, a hood over your head, and the cold slam of a van door. By sunrise, you're just a number in the system, a prisoner of Camp 22. On today's episode of the Infographic Show, we're revealing the darkest secrets of North Korea's most infamous concentration camp. You know all about the unforgiving nature of North Korea's justice system. In your former life, you were an auditor within the central government. And under Juche, there is no worse crime than disloyalty. Those who cross the Kim regime don't pay the price alone. Their entire family is branded a security threat to the dynasty that has ruled for over 70 years. North Korea has zero tolerance for this kind of betrayal, and you have overseen plenty of cases like this, and that's why you've always been careful in your personal and professional life. And when you answer your door late at night and are instantly clapped in irons, it feels as though your entire world is crashing down. You have no idea how this could have happened. Surely it's a case of mistaken identity, and you're glad you recognize one of your colleagues among the arresting team. You immediately profess your innocence, your loyalty to the government, and you are greeted with a rifle butt to the face. You collapse to the ground, the metallic taste of blood in your mouth. They drag you along the ground, wrestle a hood over your head, and throw you into the van. You can't see much, but you can hear the team talking. It was your cousin who turned you in. He was caught with illegal downloads of Western media, something that is strictly banned in North Korea. And that is enough to get your entire family classified as enemies. And you know exactly where you're heading. Camp 22, also known as Hoyeong Concentration Camp, is one of the most feared institutions in North Korea. Known as a coaliso or a penal labor camp for political prisoners, it is incredibly secure and isolated from the rest of North Korea. It's designed for no one to be able to get in or out. You're being taken as far from Pyongyang as possible, in the direction of the northeast corner of the country near the border with Russia. You'll be off the books in every way, because officially this camp doesn't even exist. The North Korean government largely denies this camp's existence. Once people are marked as enemies of the state, they essentially disappear, taken out of the system, and placed somewhere that not even their associates can help them. The camp, which was founded by Kim Il-sung and his son Kim Jong-il, has been in use for close to 50 years. Its distance from the rest of North Korea means that staffing it is a hard and lonely job, with well over 1,000 people stationed there essentially living there, prisoners as well for the duration of their duty. And they are more than willing to take that out on you. You're unloaded from the van with agents yelling at you and pointing rifles. You desperately look around hoping to see members of your family here, but there's no sign of anyone. Just several other prisoners, all equally terrified. The guards shove you along, beating anyone who hesitates even for a second. Dogs snarl, straining at their leashes, looking for an excuse to rip you to shreds. You manage to sneak a glimpse around you as you're rushed forward, and it is clear the massive camp is filled with people, almost like a city. And every single person here is either a criminal or their captor. You know who's sent here, anyone the government deems not just criminal but incorrigible. North Korea is dotted with prison labor camps, most of which are designed for hard labor sentences, including for foreign prisoners. But the inmates at Camp 22 are different. They will never be getting out. This includes dissidents and others deemed disloyal, as well as religious minorities and foreigners from Japan or South Korea who are deemed security risks. As you look through the fences at some of the people behind them, you see children, many of whom might have been born here, sentenced to life imprisonment before they were even born by their family bloodline. And you wonder how anyone could survive here. Everyone looks skeletal, their eyes are hollow like they've given up all hope of life here. Their only purpose here is to be worked until they die, and even death doesn't offer any hope for reprieve for their families. You are snapped out of your thoughts by the lead guard barking orders at you. He explains the layout of the camp. There are several core sections. The main entry point, where you're being taken to, is the camp headquarters. It contains the administrative quarters and housing, as well as factories for lighter duties like food and garment work. The largest section of the camp is a farming section where the majority of prisoners toil. But not you. As a single male prisoner of relative youth and strength, you are headed for Chungbongri, a massive coal mine. The prisoners deemed the most able to endure hardship and also likely the most expendable are placed here under strict supervision of the guards. The only other things that can be found in this region are the railway for the coal shipments, as well as a hospital and barracks. The closer you look at your fellow prisoners in this quarter reveals one horror after another. It is common to see cuts, scars, broken noses, and damaged ears. You notice some missing fingers, and some other prisoners are even missing an eye. But they are all lined up to head into the mine nonetheless. You're given a brief orientation, shoved into line, and the commanding guard shouts out a few orders. You and several other rookies are threatened by your fellow prisoners, that you had better make quota or it won't just be the guards to worry about, and survival will be a day-to-day affair. It's hard, backbreaking work right from the start. As a rookie, you're placed toward the back of the line, you're shoved into a darkened shaft, and your primary job is to break up large lumps of coal and then pass it up the line. You are given no protective gear of any kind, and you try your best to ensure that no fragments get lost. Even the slightest shortfall could result in harsh punishments. Time has already begun slipping away from you here. Movement is constant, there is no such thing as a break, and you can't see the sun. And you'll be lucky if you see it at all. When you leave the mine, it's dark and you barely even see in front of you as you're herded toward the stand where food is distributed and given a bowl. You stare in horror as the worker dishes out a small bowl of cornmeal mush, only a few ounces. Starving, you wolf it down, but it barely even scratches the growing hunger within you. It dawns on you that this isn't an appetizer, it is all they're gonna give you. It's impossible for you to live on this long term, and you don't know how anyone survives here. But you are gonna find out. The barracks are as sparse as they can get, with little more than bunk beds with bare-bones bedding. The only available toilet is a communal one, and you can smell it from here. As soon as the lights go out and the guards depart, you can hear the sound of rustling. Your neighbors are out, and it soon becomes clear that they are hunting. They frantically search the surrounding grasslands for any trace of life – lizards, rats, frogs, even insects. Some stockpile their catch for later, while others horrifyingly just eat the newly killed animal. It all seems so foreign and barbaric to you, but you'll get used to it whether you want to or not. Several weeks into life at the camp, it's all too normal. You're woken up at the crack of dawn, you get your first portion of cornmeal, and then you're put to work in the mines. Your hands are calloused, your lungs feel heavier by the day, and the one finger that got crushed by that mine car still doesn't bend right. But you've been working hard, obeying the rules and learning from your fellow inmates. You've managed to get the hang of hunting, finding it especially easy to catch frogs, which can be covertly boiled using handmade fires in the dead of night. But even this basic act of survival can come with deadly consequences. One of the most important lessons you've learned in your time here is that any sort of disobedience comes with a single consequence. Your bunk is a little emptier these days, as a week ago one of your fellows attempted to catch a rat in the light of day. He was spotted by the guards, led off, and taken to the execution center on the far end of the camp. No one ever comes back from there, and stealing food is a capital offense. It doesn't matter that the small amount of mush you're given each day is unsurvivable as a diet. It doesn't matter that the wildlife is naturally occurring. All that matters is the will of the camp, and inmates are frequently led past the execution site as a warning of the consequences of any violation. There is only one moment of reprieve from your hard labor each day. You work from the crack of dawn to well after dark, but before sleep you're taken to the one enrichment activity allowed here: cultural re-education and self-criticism sessions. In this communal service, you're required to assess your own failings to the party and proclaim it publicly. Speeches are given by loyal members of the party in good standing, as they serve as examples. You admit that you could have kept a better eye on your family, to keep your cousin from falling into the corruption that doomed you. But your only failing was being too focused on your work for the party. Surely you can be redeemed, right? You get your first glimmer of hope at one of those sessions. One of the speakers is a high-ranking member of the Auditor's Bureau that you used to work at in what feels like 1,000,000 years ago. You make sure your voice is extra loud during the session. You are extra incisive in your criticism of your failings, while making sure to remind them of your loyalty to the party in your previous position. You try to catch his eye, and when you do, he stares at you with nothing but contempt, and you are very quickly ushered away. The guards handle you roughly as you're taken back to the barracks. There is no hope for prisoners here, and no way off the list. The more you learn about this prison, the more you feel like you might deserve this, not for your association with a criminal, but for playing any role in sending people to this camp in the first place. Every day you encounter new horrors. You see children as young as 6 toiling in the fields, working to prep produce picked by their parents. You see elderly men lining up right next to you in line at the mine, working just as hard as you. One keeled over in the mine the other day, dying from a heart attack. You were ordered to leave his body there and keep working. You don't know exactly how many people are in this camp, but it has to be close to 50,000. The place feels more like a city than it does a camp, and the massive complex seems to treat everyone with nearly the same level of abuse, with one exception. Those who came there with families are allowed some slight privileges. If they display good behavior for an extended period, they might be allowed to live in communal housing together. But here you are alone. One of your fellow workers in the mine drops a lamp. A blaze ignites and turns the shaft into a fireball. Located near the back of the shaft, you are one of the few people who managed to escape what turns into one of the camp's worst disasters in years. The shaft is sealed off, ensuring that anyone who was left behind will have no chance of survival. The survivors are quickly beaten for their failure, but you barely even feel it compared to the searing pain from the burns and smoke inhalation. You were wounded, but you were still a potential worker. The mining hospital is a rare place to visit. Treatments are bare bones and highly painful. The goal is simply to stabilize you enough to get you back to work, but fortunately your injuries are mostly superficial. You scream as they apply the alcohol to your burns, but it minimizes the risk of infection, one of the quickest causes of death in this camp. You are in so much pain that you barely even notice when the older nurse, one of the longest-term prisoners in the camp, leans over and whispers in your ear, "Your mother is looking for you." You knew it was a possibility. After all, your entire family was likely arrested. Your father had died years ago, but your mother was still likely taken to one of the farming sections to toil in the fields. You know this worker is likely risking everything just by talking to you, so you have to make it count. Your family was a fairly high-ranking one in Pyongyang, and there has to be a way out of here, at least to be reunited with them and maybe to convince the administrators of your innocence. There are few things here that are valued, but you know one. It might just cost you your soul. The only real currency prisoners have in this hell is their word, and the guards only care about evidence of misconduct. This is a dog-eat-dog camp, one of the worst in the entire facility, and they have been carefully scrounging for survival just like you. You've been watching them carefully, and you know when they break the rules. You're able to tip the guards off, and you are not the only one. You know snitching is a way of life here, as people desperately try to curry the favor of the guards or even just reduce the competition for the basics of life. And it takes a while, but it works. A new shipment of prisoners is brought in after another month. You were returned to the mines as soon as you were able to work, and you can feel yourself getting sicker and sicker, but one day you are plucked out of line and herded to a transport car. You can see the glares of the murderous rage from your fellow prisoners. You wonder if they know what you've done or if they are simply jealous of your potential escape. But as you are pushed into the vehicle, you realize that you don't even know if this is an escape. You could be taken to your death with no explanation and no appeal. Your fate is about to change, and none of it is in your hands. You're ferried to one of the many large penal farming colonies on the camp grounds. This may be a reward for your loyal service, turning on your fellow prisoners, but a brief look around indicates that this won't be a relief. The hours are just as long, the prisoners are just as frail and starving. There is a much larger number of women and children around, but just looking at the tiny kids makes you once again doubt everything you've ever been taught. But it is one step closer to answers. Now you just have to survive a new routine. By now, this kind of brutal camp life is second nature. You do what you're told, you keep your head down, you work as hard as you can and avoid attention, and you look for opportunities. Working in the fields offers more opportunities for harvesting livestock, but there are also more guards. The nighttime rationing is less competitive, but trickier to pull off. However, your body doesn't feel nearly as broken after every day, and your lungs are already starting to recover. This is still hard labor, but it feels more sustainable. And you are getting closer to answers. You don't know anyone here, but you wait for the guards to move on to another section before you ask one of your work partners for information. It takes several attempts waiting for an opening near someone new, but you eventually get the information you wanted. Your mother is in the next section over, working in the same kind of agricultural work. She is still alive, and you might be able to get in contact with her. You're told to contact someone who is staying in the next bunk over at night under the cover of darkness. This is the riskiest thing you've ever done, but it'll be worth it. Your contact is a cynical man. He was brought here decades ago, and the rest of his family has long since died. But he has built contacts, and he says that he can get a note through to your mother. You pay him in rats and frogs, one of the only currencies that matters, and pass him the note. Now, it's an extended wait to see if he eventually gets one back, giving you your first contact with the people that you knew in the outside world, or if it was all for nothing. And soon enough, hope arrives. You recognize your mother's handwriting. It's the same one that you saw on letters from your village when you were doing your military service, and when you moved to Pyongyang. Your cousin was executed only days after arriving at camp. He tried to run, but many of your family members are still around. Most are in the farming sector, but you were likely placed separately as a single man who had a high-ranking position and might have been seen as a higher risk. But now you're closer than ever. And there might be a plan. Your mother has met a woman at the camp who has contacts in China. She claims that if they get across the border, they can find refuge there and eventually make their way to a safe zone. possibly somewhere in Southeast Asia. The remote location makes it especially hard to escape, but you would be much harder to track. For the first time in your stay here, you've got some hope. But now you have to find a way out of here. The first step is to make your way from your section of the farming camp to hers. It won't be easy, and death awaits at every turn. The best moment to try for an escape is after dark, when many of the prisoners are foraging. You take advantage of this and you crawl through the sedge grass. It's painful and disgusting, but that's nothing new. And as long as you stay low to the ground, you might be mistaken for a rat rustling in the grass, much more common than an attempted escapee. It's several miles to the next camp over, and your mother thankfully gave you correct information on how to reach her bunk. The moment of truth is here. It's been ages, but you are about to be reunited. She embraces you as soon as you arrive, but there are only minutes to talk. She tells you that she's been carefully timing the train through the camp, which you know all too well. It's heavily used to transport the coal that you spent months excavating. There's a point where it briefly stops in this area, and that can be used to hitch a ride in the cargo compartment. At the terminus, you'll jump off and start making your way on foot. It's a risky plan, one with countless chances of failure, but it is the only one you have. This might be your family's only shot. You collect several other family members from nearby bunks. Your little sister, who has been living with your mother in the communal housing, hasn't spoken a word since you were reunited with her. From there, your mother leads you to the train, and you'll see it pull to a stop. Soon, you've entered the cramped cargo hold, your few surviving family members hiding for dear life as it chugs to start again. The train runs for several hours nonstop, so it should be a smooth ride to the terminus when your real journey begins. Except that today, it's stopping early. You briefly allow yourself to hope that it's a malfunction, and that hope is dashed when you hear the shouts of Korean and the doors are flung open by gun-wielding soldiers. They were waiting for you. You'll never know how they discovered you. Were you too sloppy? Did your informant turn you in? Or did one of your family betray you in hopes of leniency? The only thing you know for sure is what so many others have learned the hard way. There is no escape from Camp 22. Now go watch Escaping a North Korean Internment Camp, Only Person Ever, or click on this video instead.